Look back. What did I just read? What did I just read? Before this video starts, I implore you to read this one shot and then come back and watch this video, because I'm sure you'd be able to formulate your own ideas on the story and concept. And when you feel like you have a good grasp on the story, you can come back and watch this video. But I would really appreciate it if you formulated your own ideas before hearing my own interpretation of the story. Alright, now that I've got your attention, let's talk about what we read, or you could say my own interpretation of the story of Look Back. I think Look Back is a perfect example of a story that uses the medium of manga to express itself really well. Very few panels are wasted in creating this atmosphere that you're immersed into, and it does a great job of not explicitly stating the story and letting the reader's mind ponder and wonder about the subject. We start the story at a school, in a classroom, with a character named Fujino. Fujino's character draws manga for the school newspaper, and the manga spares no time in making it very obvious that she's loved by most of her classmates, and that a lot of the students enjoy her manga. The teacher asks her to share some of her manga with a shut-in student. At first, she's perfectly fine with the idea of sharing the spotlight due to her believing that she would be far superior than the shut-in student. We quickly realize that that's not the case, and we figure out that the shut-in student is phenomenal at drawing. This is the basic plot of the manga, and if I wanted to talk more about it, this video would be more of a review and less of an analysis. But today I mainly want to focus on the character of Fujino. She's a perplexing character, to say the least. On the surface, her struggles can be viewed as her being maybe narcissistic or a little bit more demanding than the average person. But I believe if we dig deeper, we're going to be able to find some interesting and complex ideas. I want to start talking about the idea of looking back for this video and what I think it symbolizes, and how it can be summed up as the final say of the story and the final say of the character of Fujino, which is so heavily tied into the story. Throughout the story, we see the character of Fujino not looking back. It's quickly characterized that her character is shown that we are shown her character's back. Her back is always facing us, and she's always focused ahead. She really has no life purpose if you really think about it. We see that she doesn't have much ambition for anything, shown by the fact that her friends ask her if she would want to be a mangaka, and she merely states, "Sitting at a desk all day seems boring." She really has no life purpose or identity. She's merely doing this for the time being. She does karate. She does a lot of other things. And I think her character is beautifully characterized in this idea of escapism, or in this idea of not having an identity, or a lack of identity, you could say. I think her character is characterized very well in that way, just by the fact that she doesn't look back. Throughout the story, we see the relationship of Fujino and the shut-in student Kiyomoto truly blossom throughout the story. We see them start making manga, and we see them go through this journey of making manga, and this seems like the main plot point of the story so far. And until something super shocking happens, where Kiyomoto decides to break up with this duo, this partnership, this writer-artist duo that they have going. She decides to break up with Fujino and go to art school. At first, Fujino is seen to be upset that she's doing that, but she quickly realizes that she doesn't need Kiyomoto and that she can just get another assistant. Um, and you may be wondering, well, that's that, right? Well, that's not that. After that, we're quickly greeted to shocking news that Kiyomoto dies. She's stabbed to death, and this is where Fujino's character really reaches a peak for me, in my opinion, in her lack of identity. This is where the door plays a big part in the symbolism of the story, and plays a big part in the symbolism of the whole plot in general. We see Fujino go to Kiyomoto's funeral, and at her funeral, she's sitting there at Kiyomoto's door, and she's upset with herself. If I had never written that 4-panel comic and slid it down Kiyomoto's door, she wouldn't be dead. It wouldn't be my fault. I wouldn't have let this person who I loved, this person who I cherished this time with, die. My best friend wouldn't have died if I had just not been stupid at that young age and slid that 4-panel manga down her door. In this sudden realization, she decides to rip it up. She rips up all her ambitions, ripping up the first thing that kind of created this ambition for manga. Drawing is completely useless, she says, as she rips up and throws down under the door the note, just the one panel saying, "Don't come out." Boom. We see the door is kind of like a time traveling to a different dimension type door, you could say. And boom, Kiyomoto sees the message, "Don't come out." Did everything just change? Has the world just seemingly changed now? Now Kiyomoto lives a separate life from Fujino. They never meet at that young age, and they grow up. But guess what? The attacker is still alive. And as Kiyomoto is about to get stabbed, boom, we see Fujino burst in. "Hiya," she says, as she kicks the attacker, seemingly defeating this foe. You may be wondering, well, why are you talking about this? I don't need to know about this since I've just read the manga. You may be thinking. Yeah, I picked up on this. What are you getting at? Well, the thing I'm getting at is pretty simple, and it's pretty simple, but it took me quite a while to grasp, actually. But we see after that, we see Kiyomoto write a 4-panel manga and it slides back through the door, and then Fujino picks it up. The Fujino in the future, you could say, the one that it's reality. Kiyomoto is dead, and she picks up that note, and she realizes, wow, that's kind of weird, since well, obviously she realizes the door has some special magical powers, but that's not what I'm trying to get to. It's the next couple panels that is what I'm trying to get to. In the next page, we finally see Fujimoto turn back and look at the camera. You may be wondering what this peak even means. She's finally looked back. Finally looks at the robe that, or coat, you could say, that she signed when they were a kid. She looks back, seemingly looking back on her life. Looking back on all the memories she had with the character of Kiyomoto. You may be wondering, well, I picked up on all these things you're saying. What are you talking about? Well, this is where I get into the complexity of what I've just told you. On the surface, this may just be her realization that her friend was the reason why she drew, and her friend was the reason why she loved manga. But that idea didn't sit well with me. I felt like there was more to the manga than just that. And upon further consideration, I think I've come up with my interpretation of what this truly meant. Notice how throughout that this whole explanation that I've explained to you about the story, notice how Kiyomoto's life didn't change much at all in this parallel timeline. Notice how Kiyomoto's life seemingly was the exact same. She ended up being an artist. She ended up going to art school. But then the complete juxtaposition happens to Fujino. Fujino becomes a karate martial arts master, you could say, maybe. Um, yeah, she becomes a karate student, or yeah, that's the word to use, student, I guess. She becomes a karate student. This further goes to show her lack of identity. She doesn't draw manga because she likes drawing manga. She just draws manga because she wants to, or not wants to, because she's just does it. Same thing with karate. She just does it. Each character has their own identity. Kiyomoto is the artist. Kiyomoto is this aspiring artist, this passionate artist. Fujino isn't that. Fujino is anything. Fujino is the blank page. Fujino is the blank page, 4 panel manga, you could say. What does this all mean? Well, what we see now, going back to the panel where she actually turned around, what we see are 4 panels. 4 panels that go into a characterization. She finally turns around. I think her turning around is her realization of us as the viewer, I believe. I took this as maybe not a direct fourth wall breaking, but her realization that she's just in a story. Her realization that she's just as blank as a 4 page manga panel. That no matter what happens, she's gonna be Fujino. She's gonna be different, but she's just gonna keep moving forward. Her back is always gonna be turned against us. She's always gonna be looking ahead. She's always gonna be Fujino. But what is Fujino? Fujino really is nothing. She could be anything. She could be anyone. She truly has no identity. And I think her realization is that she realizes that she is a manga. Maybe not directly, but, more hypothetically or more philosophically. She realizes that she's just a story. She really is nothing. Maybe the journey she shared with Kiyomoto was impactful towards her. Yeah, sure it was. Totally. But that still is just that. Just an impactful, emotional thing. But she goes straight back into drawing. She goes straight back into her art, into her nothingness, into manga. She doesn't love manga. She has no reason to draw it. Why would you go back to something you completely hate? It's because Fujino has no identity. She has nothing she particularly likes or loves. Kiyomoto was that at one point. But after she shed some tears, she moved on. She kept moving forward. And I believe the story of Look Back is one of self-realization. I think the story is one of the idea of realizing that life can be anything, I guess you could say, and it can also be nothing. I think Fujino is a character that's everything and nothing all at once. I think her character displays the idea of having an identity crisis fairly well. And yeah, this is what I believe Fujino character is. You could say it's a stretch. You could say I'm definitely pushing it. And yeah, I would tell you, yeah, I'm pushing it. But art is really one's own interpretation of it. And that's what I truly got from the story of Look Back. I believe that Look Back is a story of a lack of identity or a lack of self. And Fujino displays that super well. And that's basically all I have to say. In a sense, the story of Look Back is an emotionally driven story. Yes, it's meant to make you feel bad, but it's also meant to make you think. No matter how much struggles, I guess, uh, Fujino did have, she went back to making manga, something that she hates, something that she doesn't even love. This has been my video on the manga of Look Back, and sure, this video could have been scripted better, but I think I've made my ideas on the manga fairly clear on what I believe the manga expresses. Obviously, it's a very emotionally driven story, but this is what I've gained from the idea of looking back and taking in the moments that you do share with people. I believe we all have to look back every once in a while, and some of us are like Fujino, who have no identity and we can be anywhere at any given time. Some of us are also like Fujino in the way that people in our lives give our life meaning. Um, and yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching this video. Drop your own comments and ideas on the on the book or one shot of Look Back, and tell me if this video was a stretch or if it was just, all right. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next video.